Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive. This time we're tackling Breaking Free from Broke by George Kamel.
Ooh, yeah, this is the good one.
It is, and I think it'll resonate especially with our millennial and Gen Z listeners out there who are, maybe feeling the weight of debt,
For sure.
right? Because we're going beyond just the numbers here.
Absolute.
It's about the whole picture, understanding how money impacts us emotionally, how to finally ditch that debt, and how to build a future where money isn't a constant stressor.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting about Kamel's book? He really digs into the emotional side of debt.
Right, like it's not just a number on a spreadsheet.
Exactly. It's this heavy thing that can really weigh you down. It affects your mental health, your relationships, your whole outlook.
Totally. You can feel trapped, almost like you're drowning in it.
And sometimes it's even hard to admit that you're struggling. Like there's this shame attached to it.
So true. Kamal argues that you have to recognize and deal with those feelings first,
Yeah, that's got to be step one.
before you can even start making real progress, right?
Exactly. And once you face those emotions head on, that's when Kamel gives you the tools to actually tackle the debt itself. He talks about things like the debt snowball and the debt avalanche.
Ooh, those sound kind of intense. Can you break those down a little?
Sure. So imagine you have a small medical bill, like maybe $500,
Okay.
and then you've got a much bigger student loan hanging over you, maybe like $5,000.
Yikes. Yeah, that's more like it.
With the debt snowball, you'd focus on knocking out that smaller medical bill first, even though the interest rate might be low.
I see. So it's like getting a quick win to keep you motivated.
Exactly. It's all about momentum. Then you roll that energy into tackling the next biggest debt and so on.
Makes sense. And what about this debt avalanche? Is that a totally different beast?
Kind of. So with the avalanche, you prioritize the debt with the highest interest rate. So probably that student loan in our example.
Okay, yeah, those interest rates can be brutal.
Right. So even though it's the biggest debt, you tackle it first because it's costing you the most over time.
Ah, so it's more about saving money in the long run, even if it takes a little longer to see those results.
You got it. And the cool thing is Kamel doesn't just throw these methods at you and say good luck. He gives you a whole plan for putting them into practice.
Like a step-by-step guide.
Totally. He talks about how to track your debts, create a realistic repayment plan, and even how to deal with those inevitable setbacks.
Because let's face it, life doesn't always go according to plan.
Never. But once you've climbed that mountain of debt,
Yes, freedom.
haha, well, there's freedom, but there's also the need to create a budget.
Okay, yeah, got to stay on track and not fall back into old habits, right?
Exactly. And Kamel is really big on finding a budgeting system that actually works for you, not just some cookie-cutter approach.
So it's about finding what fits your lifestyle, your needs, your goals.
Exactly. And he has some really cool ideas about how to make that happen. One method he highlights is the 50-30-20 rule.
Okay, I've heard of that one. Break it down for us.
Sure. It's pretty simple. You aim to spend 50% of your income on your essential needs.
Like rent, groceries, that kind of thing.
Yep. Then 30% goes to wants. So dining out, entertainment, travel, whatever brings you joy.
Ah, so it's not all about deprivation.
Nope, it's about balance. And then that last 20% that goes to savings and debt repayment.
Okay, so you're enjoying life while still being responsible with my money. I like it.
It's a pretty solid framework. And speaking of responsibility, Kamel warns us about this sneaky thing called lifestyle inflation.
Ooh, yeah, I've heard of that. It's like the more you earn, the more you spend, right?
Exactly. You get a raise or a promotion, and suddenly you feel like you need a bigger apartment, a fancier car, the latest gadgets.
It's so easy to fall into that trap. You think you're doing better, but you're just spending more.
Exactly. And before you know it, you're right back where you started. Kamel's advice: be mindful of those impulses.
Resist the urge to upgrade everything as soon as you have a little extra cash.
Totally. He suggests directing those funds towards savings investments, even paying off any leftover debt.
So it's about building a solid foundation, not just getting caught up in the latest and greatest.
And speaking of foundations, Kamel is a huge advocate for building an emergency fund.
Ooh, yes, that peace of mind knowing you're prepared for anything.
Exactly. He recommends having 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved up.
Wow, that's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, but think about it. What if you suddenly lose your job or have a huge unexpected medical bill?
True, you don't want to go back into debt just to cover the basics.
Right. Having that emergency fund means you can handle those curveballs without completely derailing your financial progress.
It's like having that safety net to catch you if you fall.
Exactly. And Kamel believes that emergency funds should be in place before you even start thinking about investing.
It's like building a house, you need that strong foundation first.
Totally. So we've tackled debt, we've embraced budgeting, we've built our emergency fund. Those are some big wins.
Huge. It's like we've laid the groundwork for something really amazing. But I'm curious, where does Kamel take us from here? Okay, so we've got the basics down, managing debt and setting up a budget, but what about building actual wealth. I feel like that's where things get kind of intimidating for a lot of people.
Right. It can feel like a whole different world. But that's where Kamel really excels. He makes investing feel approachable, even if you're starting from scratch.
Like he's not assuming we're all Wall Street whizzes.
Exactly. He breaks down some of those basic building blocks like 401ks and IRAs.
Ah, okay, the classics. Remind me what the difference is again?
So a 401k is usually offered through your employer, and sometimes they'll even match your contributions.
Free money, I like the sound of that.
Who doesn't? Then you've got IRAs, which give you more control over your investments, but usually have lower contribution limits.
Gotcha. So both have their perks. But isn't there a universe of investments beyond those two? Like, how do we even begin to navigate that?
Well, Kamel emphasizes this really cool concept, compound interest.
Ooh, yeah, I've heard that's like the secret sauce of investing.
It is. It's basically this snowball effect where your returns start generating their own returns, and over time, your money can really multiply.
Wait, so you're telling me my money can make more money without me doing anything?
That's the beauty of it. Imagine you invest $1,000 today with a decent annual return. Years down the line, that initial investment could double or even triple in value just from compound interest.
Okay, now that's starting to sound a little too good to be true.
Well, there is a catch. Compound interest works best when you give it time to work its magic.
So it's a long game.
It is. That's why Camel stresses starting early, even if you can only invest small amounts at first.
So even if I'm not exactly rolling in dough right now, I just still start building that foundation for the future.
Absolutely. Small, consistent contributions can add up big time over the years.
Okay, I'm starting to feel a little less intimidated and more empowered here. Like anyone can do this.
That's the spirit. But of course, investing does come with some risk.
Right. Nothing's ever a sure thing.
Exactly. That's why Kamel advocates for a long-term approach, focusing on steady growth instead of those get-rich-quick schemes that never seem to pan out.
Slow and steady wins the race, right?
Exactly. He also talks about diversifying your investments, not putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Makes sense. Spread the love a little bit.
Right. And it's important to consider your own risk tolerance. Some people are comfortable with a bit more volatility, while others prefer a more conservative approach.
It's about finding what feels right for you, not trying to force yourself into someone else's strategy. But you know what I'm curious about? How do our emotions play into all of this? Because sometimes the fear and greed can really cloud our judgment when it comes to money.
Oh, absolutely. Kamel talks about that too. He encourages readers to be aware of those emotional biases and avoid making impulsive decisions based on, how the market's doing that day.
Like, don't panic sell just because things are looking a little shaky.
Exactly. Have a plan and stick to it even when things get a little turbulent.
Easier said than done sometimes.
It definitely takes practice. He also stresses the importance of regularly reviewing and adjusting your investment strategy as needed, especially as your life changes and your goals evolve.
So it's not just a set it and forget it kind of thing?
Not really. It's about staying engaged and making sure your investments are still aligned with where you want to go.
It's like checking in with yourself and your money every now and then to make sure you're both on the same page.
I love that analogy. I'm noticing a theme here. It seems like Kamel doesn't just focus on the technical side of money. He also talks a lot about our mindset.
Right, like our beliefs and attitudes about money can actually influence our financial success.
Totally. He even talks about examining your money story. Like those narratives we've internalized about wealth, poverty, our own worthiness to be financially successful.
Wow, that's deep. But how do you actually go about changing those deep-seated beliefs? Because it's one thing to say, think positive about money, but how do you make that shift happen in your head?
Well, Kamel suggests starting with awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts and feelings around money.
Like notice those knee-jerk reactions you have.
Exactly. Once you identify those negative patterns, you can start to challenge them.
It's like catching yourself repeating those old scripts you learned from your parents or society, and then deciding if those scripts are actually true for you.
Right. You get to choose your own money story. He also talks about the power of visualization, like creating a clear picture in your mind of your financial goals.
Like athletes visualizing themselves winning a race.
Exactly. You're programming your subconscious mind to attract those outcomes.
Okay, but what about those of us who aren't naturally optimistic? Like, what if we're dealing with real financial struggles that make it hard to feel positive?
Yeah, that's a valid point. Kamel emphasizes the importance of self-compassion, acknowledging that we all make mistakes, and those setbacks don't define our worth.
So it's okay to mess up sometimes?
Absolutely. He encourages celebrating small wins, like sticking to your budget for a week or paying off a small debt.
Like acknowledging those little victories that keep you moving forward.
Exactly. It's all about building momentum. He also suggests surrounding yourself with positive influences.
People who lift you up and support your financial journey.
Totally. Find your financial cheerleaders. And it's worth mentioning that Kamel isn't all about DIY finance. He recognizes that sometimes we need professional guidance.
Right, like sometimes you need an expert in your corner.
Exactly. He encourages seeking advice from financial advisors or mentors, people who can give you personalized guidance based on your specific situation.
Like a financial coach to help you navigate all the complexities. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from basic investing concepts to the power of our mindset. But what's that one big takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with?
For me, it's this. Financial freedom is achievable no matter where you're starting from. It's about taking control of your money, but also understanding how your emotions and beliefs play a role.
It's like recognizing that our finances are connected to our overall well-being.
Exactly. And it's about empowering ourselves to create a legacy that goes beyond just our own lifetime, building something that can benefit future generations.
Like breaking those cycles of financial struggle that can sometimes run in families.
Exactly. And it all starts with taking that first step.
I'm really stressed by how Kamel weaves together those practical money strategies with this deeper understanding of our relationship with money. It's like he's saying you can have all the right tools, but if your mindset isn't in the right place, it's still an uphill battle.
Right. Like you could be a budgeting pro, know all about investing, but if you're holding on to those limiting beliefs about money, well, it's like you're putting up roadblocks for yourself.
So how do we start shifting those deep-seated beliefs? Because it's easy to say, think positive, but actually changing those ingrained thought patterns, that's a whole other challenge.
Kamel suggests starting with awareness. Just notice your thoughts and feelings around money. What comes up for you when you think about your finances? Are there any automatic reactions or judgments?
It's like catching yourself saying something that you learned from your parents growing up, something that might not even be true for you anymore.
Exactly. It's about questioning those inherited beliefs and then deciding what you want your own money story to be.
So it's not just about changing our habits, it's about changing the narrative we tell ourselves about money.
Right. And Kamel talks about the power of visualization too, creating a clear mental picture of your financial goals.
It's like those athletes who visualize themselves winning a race. They're literally creating that blueprint for success in their minds.
Exactly. And it's not just some woo-woo thing. There's actual science behind how visualization can impact our brains and our behavior.
Okay, but what about those of us who aren't naturally inclined towards positive thinking? Like, what if you're dealing with some serious financial struggles and it's just hard to feel optimistic?
Kamel gets that. He emphasizes self-compassion, recognizing that everyone makes mistakes and those setbacks don't define your worth.
Like, it's okay to screw up sometimes. We're all human.
Exactly. And he encourages celebrating those small wins, even something as simple as sticking to your budget for a week or paying off a small debt.
It's like giving yourself credit for those little victories that keep you motivated.
It's all about building momentum. And he also talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with positive influences, people who inspire you and support your financial journey.
It's like finding your financial peer squad, those friends or mentors who believe in you and cheer you on.
Love that. And another thing that really resonates with me, Kamel isn't all about DIY finance. He recognizes that sometimes we need some extra help.
Right. Sometimes you need a professional in your corner.
Exactly. He encourages seeking advice from financial advisors or mentors, people who can offer personalized guidance based on your unique situation.
It's like having a financial coach to help you create a game plan and navigate those tricky decisions.
Totally. So we've explored a lot in this deep dive, from those nitty-gritty details of debt management and budgeting to the power of our mindset and even the concept of generational wealth. What's that one big takeaway you want our listeners to carry with them?
I think it's this. Financial freedom is possible, no matter where you're starting from. It's about taking control of your money, yes, but it's also about understanding those deeper emotional and psychological factors that are at play.
It's about recognizing that our finances are connected to our well-being, our relationships, our overall sense of self.
And it's about creating a life of abundance, not just in our bank accounts, but in all areas of our lives.
It's about more than just money. It's about creating a life that feels aligned and fulfilling and leaving a positive legacy for future generations.
So what small step can you take today to break free from those financial burdens and start building that brighter future? We hope this deep dive has given you the knowledge and inspiration to embark on your own journey towards financial freedom. Thanks for joining us.